everyone, it's Sevi. It's been requested for so long, but I finally got around to taking a deeper look and testing out Keqing more in her Dendro buffed era. Keqing already had a lot of guides pre-Dendro release, so in this video I want to focus on Keqing's new Aggravate playstyle, especially since this created a bigger buzz on how Keqing is now better than ever, and I agree. I'm going to talk about why I think she's great, my build tips, and how to create effective Aggravate teams. Then at the end, I'll showcase some team rotations to give you some ideas on how to play your Keqing teams. So there are a couple of reasons why I think Keqing's getting a lot of attention now with her Dendro buff. First, if we take Keqing in the context as one of the standard banner 5-star characters, I think that out of all of them, she's the one that enjoys the most benefits with the new reactions. And it's not just a minor boost, her Aggravate teams can output some really good damage. Keqing's also able to apply Electro relatively fast, and that's of course what Aggravate wants. It's also nice that her Aggravate teams are not as reliant on attack buffers Bennett or Sarah. Bennett is already in high demand on other teams, and Sarah is a more niche unit that many players won't necessarily want or have. But this time, we already get 2 free Dendro units that are completely enough to set up Keqing's Aggravate team. And on the topic of how it feels to play her teams, I've personally enjoyed the experience. These are teams with quick rotations and fast-paced gameplay, and building a smooth team rotation around her with team abilities that line up so well can feel very satisfying when you execute them perfectly. So let's start with some build tips. Keqing's build recommendations from pre-Dendro times are pretty much still applicable here, but a significant build change is that with Aggravate, EM now has a more impactful contribution to her damage. If EM stats weren't as desirable before on her old teams, getting EM stats now won't feel like a waste. That doesn't mean you should stack triple EM main stats, as Aggravate damage still scales with damage bonuses and crit. Simply getting some EM substat rolls is already great, but there's also room for a high substat EM stance, especially if your team is providing Keqing with a bunch of attack buffs already. The most accessible sets are 2-piece combos of Thundering Fury, attack percent, and EM sets. If you're mixing sets, make sure you're getting the best substats possible, and with high enough substats you could even match or surpass 4-piece sets. For full sets though, Thundersoother and Thundering Fury will be your top choices as they complement the Aggravate playstyle really well. Thundersoother's 4-piece damage bonus effect will have really high uptime, leading to a straight-up damage increase. On the other hand, Thundering Fury is amazing for the damage bonus, reaction bonus, and the skill cooldown reduction. On Keqing, it allowed me to spam her skill more quickly, which meant faster electro application and faster particle generation. And it let me rely less on her charge attacks and having to sprint for her on-field time, which also avoided stamina drain issues. The good news is both these sets are now available in the Artifact Strongbox aside from their domain, but which one should you get? When it comes to farming efficiency, aiming for Thundering Fury is more advisable in my opinion. Thundering Fury can be broken up into 2-piece combos to be used by different characters paired with another 2-piece set with excellent substats. At least the pieces will still be useful outside of their 4-piece effect, unlike Thundersoother, which strictly needs the full set. Also, I really enjoy the fun gameplay of the skill cooldown reduction that Thundering Fury offers, not just for Keqing but on other units too. So all in all, I think the TF set has better value. On the topic of energy recharge, Keqing also has very low ER needs. On the teams I've run her with, she had a consistent 120% ER, and it's a generally safe range even against bosses. She also has an A4 passive where she gets 15% crit rate and 15% ER by using her burst, so take those into account as well. As for weapon choices, they're very straightforward as pre-Dendro recommendations are still valid. If you need an F2P friendly weapon, the sword from Kazuha's story quest or a Blackcliff longsword are your best options, but I personally would rather not spend the star glitter and just go with Kazuha's sword until a better choice comes along. If you manage to get a Lion's Roar, it's going to be one of her best 4-star weapon options. Since the Electro aura on the enemy is almost always maintained with an Aggravate team, its damage bonus stays active as well. There's also the Battle Pass weapon, the Black Sword. The crit rate will be helpful for balancing her crit ratio, and it provides a bit of healing utility too. Any DPS 5-star sword will do if you have one. If you have the Mist Splitter or Jade Cutter, then you have her top choices already. Now let's get into the team building discussion, which is the most important aspect of maximizing Keqing's potential. First, make up the core members, Keqing and the Dendro unit. The Dendro teammate will either be Dendro Traveler or Collei. Their cooldowns will line up well with Keqing's team rotations, though there are situations where Collei is actually more preferred, specifically if you have a team that accommodates a 15-second rotation like with Kazuha or Kuki. Their build will ideally be a Noblesse or Instructor set, as the Deepwood set does nothing for electro damage.
There is a way to make Tighnari and Keqing work together if you have them both. I did think it was worth mentioning because it wasn't as bad of an option as I thought it to be. I'll include it in my showcases later. Keqing's burst has a very fast cooldown of 12 seconds with a 40 burst cost, and I prefer to create quick swap teams that revolve around her bursting on cooldown. Who you comp her with will determine how long your team setup and on-field times are. Don't worry, because later on I'll help show some samples of executing her team rotations. To capitalize on the Aggravate reaction, we'll want a second Electro unit that's also fit for a quick swap role. Having another Electro unit also helps a lot with energy needs as they battery each other, and Electro Resonance gives additional particle generation. The top recommendations are Fischl and Yae. Aside from also being buffed a lot by Dendro, they maintain a lot of off-field and potential 100% uptime Electro damage. Fischl's A4 passive in particular will be procced more frequently if Keqing is on 4-piece Thundering Fury. Lisa and Beidou are also good options, Beidou in particular for multi-target scenarios. However, note that their longer cooldowns don't align as closely with Keqing's shorter cooldowns, so you'll have to account for those in your rotation. While there are dedicated electro healers like Kuki and Dori, you should only choose them for comfort, as slotting them rather than an actual Electro DPS will cause your team DPS to drop significantly. You do have the option to make Yae or Lisa hold a prototype Amber if you want a pseudo healer, but the trade-off is of course lower damage. Kujo Sara is also another choice, but I find that she can feel clunky to play, especially without her constellations. While she buffs Keqing's damage and gives very high damage per screenshot if you have her C6, that could still be a team damage loss rather than just slotting in another Electro DPS. Depending on the second unit, they might share a lot of the damage contribution with Keqing, which is fine for me, because team damage is more important rather than trying to dump all the damage on Keqing. So if Fischl or Yae help carry the team's damage, then that's a plus for team effort. As for the last slot, it's highly recommended to be an Anemo unit, as the Electro Resistance Shred is a big boost to damage. But you also have to consider survivability. Unless a Dendro healer comes out, or if you didn't choose an Electro healer, then this is the only place you can slot in a healer or shielder. Jean and Sayu are the most comfortable Anemo picks, as they consolidate the role of VV user and healing. Giving them Favonius weapons helps a lot with batterying your team. Sucrose will be a very good option, as her EM buff will benefit your 2 Electro units and has very versatile weapon choices. Sack Frag for more EM sharing and an extra skill charge, Hakushin Ring to buff Electro damage, Prototype Amber if you want her to be a part healer, or Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers for attack buffing. Then Kazuha can yield the highest damage ceiling at the risk of not having survival support utility. But all in all, the 4th slot can accommodate other choices besides Anemo. You can even slot in a 3rd Electro unit that synergizes with or supports Keqing and the 2nd Electro. I think the important thing to keep in mind when you choose are 1. That the flex unit doesn't disrupt the Dendro or Electro aura, or else it will hinder aggravates, and 2. That the cooldowns align well with your expected team rotation. But all things considered, having a VV Anemo user is my preference. I think one key to making Keqing's teams feel satisfying to play is executing good rotations. There are many different team combos, but let me show you some sample footage of 3 teams and how to connect your team's abilities. These rotations use a Thundering Fury Keqing build, so you'll notice that my skill cooldown gets significantly reduced. Without Thundering Fury, you'll likely just insert more auto attacks during her field time. For the first showcase, we have Keqing, Fischl, Dendro Traveler, and Jean. This is a very quick swap oriented team that's divided into 2 12 to 13 second rotation parts. Since Jean and Dendro Traveler have longer cooldowns, they will only be able to burst every other rotation. Off-field electro damage is consistently maintained by continuously refreshing Fischl's Oz right after it expires, and Keqing is able to burst on cooldown. Jean keeps the team alive, and DMC is able to consistently refresh the Quicken aura. If you don't have Jean, Sayu can instead work as the Anemo healer.
shadows, guide us. Ha! Ah! For speed of light, nowhere to hide. Don't blink. Yeah! Midnight, phantasm! Speed of light, hey!
The second team consists of Keqing, Yae, Collei, and Kazuha. This team example now deals with a 15-second rotation to accommodate Collei and Kazuha's bursts, and since Yae takes more time to unload her turrets, I needed to make sure Yae's burst would catch all 3 turrets, so the rotation is a bit tight. Without a healer, this can be very risky, making it reliant on dodging and burst iframes.
Clouds high. The birds come.
Go! Just like we rehearsed. Incoming. With sword comes shadow. Right here. Right now.
Wind strider. Fallen leaves. Adorn my...
Aye! Fallen amber! Help! Speed of light. Nowhere to hide. Hey!
For this last team showcase, I put together Keqing, Fischl, Tighnari, and Zhongli. In this team, I want to demonstrate the example of using Tighnari and having a team without an Anemo unit. If you manage to get these 2 standard banner 5 stars, then I think they can make a surprisingly decent team together. Zhongli's shield in this team also has the benefit of shredding both Electro and Dendro resistance for all the DPSs.
I will have order. As you wish, me. Can't see? I hear everything.
Incoming. Nowhere to hide.
Stabilize. Enshroud. I'll uproot you.
Don't blink.
A few notes before wrapping up, ER requirements can change depending on enemy mobs, teammates, rotations, external energy sources, etc. And if you weren't aware, Keqing's highly recommended attack pattern was spamming her charged attacks, but it has the downside of throwing away light enemies. That's why I enjoy using Keqing more against enemies that can't get thrown away by her attacks, as that removes a lot of the necessity to chase after them. Against light enemies, even if her charged attack combos give the highest attack output, I would sometimes do normal attacks if I don't want enemies to get thrown too far. Although Electro and Quickswap Keqing playstyles can be good even pre-Dendro, I'm happy that her new Aggravate teams have really given Keqing more potential to tap into. It's elevated her status so that even as a standard 5-star, she still got what it takes to be fun and strong. Anyway, I hope this video helped you out. I chose to highlight rotations a bit more than usual, and if you want to learn more about why they're important, check out the video linked in the description below. And don't forget to comment if you've also been enjoying Keqing's new teams. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all soon. Take care!